Today's their disclosure of conflict of interest. Okay. Can I get approval of the agenda? Be approved. Jimmy, worship, thank you. All in favor? And then if I could get the adoption of the minutes from meeting 2313 held on November 16th, 2023. Thank you, Christian. Jimmy, all in favor? Thank you. For the communications, did anyone have any questions with respect to any of the following communications from the Ministry of the Solicitor General, Canadian Association of Police Governance, Ontario Association of Police Services Boards, and Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario that were received? Okay, very good. And can I get a motion to bring those forward? Thank you. Christian, Jimmy, all in favor? Thank you. So we're going to have the information reports next. Is any? So the report number 2339 for 2023 homecoming.
Thank you, Chair. And I know there's been a lot of hard work that went on all year, and Acting Deputy Chief Lillian Murdoch is with us today and has done a great job. She oversaw the whole event this year, which was tremendous, I think a tremendous result. And I'm going to pass it over to Lillian to pass along the debriefing report for everyone.
Thanks very much, Chief. So I have tried to outline in the report some of our strategic objectives that were identified early on. And I think that those objectives really helped us get where we needed to go. So I do have to sing praises to those that were on our police liaison teams that were really deployed right from the get-go. And that was during the Queen's Move-In weekend, which was our Labor Day weekend. Obviously, giving education to all of the students that are there, but also all of the residents there too, to try to bring those two communities together. And as well, our enforcement team who were out starting that weekend and onward. And they really did a great impact in regards to kind of setting a tone in what's to be expected. And I think that that tone really carried on then at our homecoming event. We did find that students were much more respectful to officers when dealing with us. We didn't have any thrown projectiles that we observed anyway. And as well, we didn't have any serious injuries to students and or police. And I really think that that had a lot to do with our police liaison teams and our enforcement teams. So a lot of people with a lot of hard work. We had two strategic planners for this event, Sergeant Scott Huffman and Sergeant Clem Nessanagam. They also did a tremendous job, but many sworn and civilian behind the scenes that made this possible. So I obviously commend them for their efforts. So thanks.
Board have any questions? Okay, thank you. And then if we could have the report for number 2340, the Q3 budget report.
Sorry, I didn't know if the chief wanted to say anything. I'm going to be a little bit longer than Inspector Murdoch was, but with respect to this report, so this information report is providing a financial update of the operating results as compared to the budget for the Kingston Police as at the end of October 31st, 2023. Exhibits throughout the report provide detailed budget and actual information resulting variances by revenue and expense. With an overall net operating position, which reflects 83.7% of the total budget at October 31st, 2023. Revenues and expenditures that are tracking as expected, reflecting expected seasonal and timing variances normally experienced year over year. However, as reported in last quarter's information report, the unbudgeted costs incurred to police the post-secondary mass gatherings continues to put significant strain on the Kingston Police fiscal circumstances. As you will see in the report, as at the end of October, total cost to police these gatherings amounted to $577,000 as compared to $1.2 million in 2022. This includes 147K of costs to police the St. Patrick's Day events, 61K of costs incurred during the month of September, including move-in weekend and the weekends leading up to homecoming, and 355,000 of expenditures incurred during the homecoming weekend. One thing that helped make these costs a lot lower this year were the fact that there wasn't a second weekend, which was really fantastic. So staff have implemented a number of measures to try to reduce expenses where possible and continue to pursue new grants and other funding opportunities to limit the impact to the overall budget. We are still, despite this, we are still projecting a slight deficit at the end of the year, hoping to stay with where we're sitting at right now. So now I'm just going to move on to discuss the revenue and expenditure results. So with respect to the overall results, the total net cost for the 10 months ending October 31st of 37.1 million compared to the annual budget of 44.4 million, resulting in a year-to-date deficit of 165,000 or just under 0.5%, so 0.37. Gross revenues and expenditures are reported show actual revenues of 4.5 million in comparison to a budget of 5.3 million and expenditures of 41.2 in comparison to a budget of 49.7. So with respect to the revenues, most are tracking as expected or reflect expected timing and seasonal variances. There are some favorable revenue projections and other variance clarifications that I'll highlight. So provincial grant revenues are 2.1 million or 95% of the annual provincial grant revenues, resulting in a year-to-date surplus of 253,000. This includes 238,000 of unbudgeted provincial additional provincial funding that supports automated license plate recognition technology. These additional grant revenues are offsetting corresponding costs in the expenditure recovery category. The remaining unfavorable balance in expenditure recovery primarily reflects the timing of other budgeted recoveries for officer secondments. There are a number of seconded positions participating in provincial initiatives of which we receive funds to offset compensation costs. Criminal record check revenues are lower than budget. These are reflective of actual experience realized over the past few years. These revenues have been tracking at this same trend over the last few years. Revenues include unbudgeted payroll benefit rebates of 37,000. These are resulting in a rebate that we get back if the actual projected cost of claims were less than what we had estimated. And auction proceeds are higher than budgeted, reflecting higher than anticipated proceeds received in the first auction. With respect to expenditures, most expenses are tracking as expected and are consistent with typical variances experienced year to year. Contracted services, you'll see that it looks like it's over budget, but they're proportionately higher and reflect timing variances as contracts are paid that cover the entire year. By year end, it's anticipated that these will be within budget or lower, hopefully. Other notable variances with respect to the expenditure categories are discussed throughout the report, of which I will speak briefly to. Salary and wages are at 83.5% of the annual budget or 35.3 million. Full-time wages are lower than budget due to staffing vacancies, turnover, and timing of new hires. Kingston Police, as we noted in the report, continue to experience challenges in recruiting for vacant positions. Should be noted that these, even though the full-time wages are lower, this results in increased overtime costs to offset. So they still need to meet the schedules. Part-time wages are unfavorable, reflecting backfill requirements due to staff vacancies. This is primarily in the communications center. Overtime costs are exceeding budgeted projections. These costs are very dependent on the occurrence of major incidents. To date, overtime costs include $346,000 of unbudgeted costs for policing the post-secondary gatherings, 78,000 attributable to the Collins Bay shooting, 19K of overtime costs incurred responding to local rallies, primarily with protests that with groups supporting respective sides of the conflict in Gaza, And the remaining variance is primarily due to coverage for staff vacancies and other reimbursable overtime, such as the RIDE program. Moving into the supplies and services, they are 6 million or 85.53% of the annual budget. Uniforms and protective clothing are trending higher than projected and reflect increased costs primarily related to supply chain issues, inflation, upgrades to safety elements, and new regulations. This budget can be impacted by a higher or lower than anticipated number of retirements, new hires, or existing officers finding that gear is no longer fitting properly. Education and training is favorable. This is reflective of the elimination of the police college tuition. Utilities are favorable by are 53% spent or $126,000 lower than budget. This is due to lower than anticipated electricity rates combined with less consumption. And the investigative services account includes this line is over budget and is reflective of an additional 231K of unbudgeted costs to support policing the mass gatherings. These costs primarily reflect bringing reinforcements from other policing agencies to provide additional staffing resources. Additional grants in this budget are helping to offset some of the costs. That concludes the report. If you have any questions, I would be happy to respond. Thanks. Sorry, I was reading off that, but it's hard with the numbers. I wanted to make sure it was accurate. Yes. Sorry. Oh, sorry. It's because we updated it to, this was actually a request of the city too. So we updated it to be the end of October. Just one was that the timing of when the report was coming, it felt a little late to be reporting to the end of September, and two, to include the cost of Queens was mostly, or the policing the post-secondary gatherings. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Scarlett. And just for the board's awareness too, 2023, we've completely revamped the process in which we're budgeting. We're obviously working on the budget. Our team is essentially a full team working in the entire organization. So money is being talked about a lot and has been for the entire year. And I congratulate everybody. And of course, Scarlett came to us mid-year, gave us a whole different perspective on financial reporting. And I think what we're seeing is, a trend in the right direction. Not that it was wrong before, just that we're doing it differently, and that it is a discussion. So thank you, Scarlett, for all your hard work. And there's been a lot of training this year for everybody, and everybody's taken it literally and done a tremendous job. And a couple of things that were in there, the recruiting, which continues to be a challenge. That's a challenge everywhere. Policing, we're really hurting. And I know we discussed about some of the costs that are related to that. Almost every day, there's a newspaper article about a different agency, whether it's in Canada or the United States. And that's a trend we're continuing to work on. So I just want the board to be assured we've got some plans moving forward, working locally and globally on getting new candidates in. And just quickly to go back, one report, thanks Lillian, in regards to our homecoming and the complete revamp in 23 on that. Another great partnership we have is the partnership we've established with the bylaw department and bylaw liaison. So between our PLT, our enforcement teams, bylaw, and then of course, all of our staff have a piece they fit in that puzzle. And I just know that that's in combination with the city, which, when we all work together, good things happen. So I just wanted to make sure we covered that off with you as well. So, and thank you both for excellent reports. And there's a lot of detail in there and it's much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Lily. Thank you, Scarlett. Can I get a motion to receive these reports? Christian worship, all in favor, thank you. And
Yeah. If I can just say a word of appreciation for the transparency that you're bringing to both the numbers and the process at work here. And that I realize this is it's a difficult undertaking. And from what I hear, Chief, this is a work in progress that will continue to see further evolution over the coming year in terms of how we track, how we process, and how we discuss budgets. Is that a correct interpretation?
Most definitely. That's a great way to put it. Eloquently said. And yes, that's, and we're all on the same page. I think, and it's really important. The collaboration with the city is really important as well. And so between the police service itself, the board and the city, I think it's a recipe for success, and it's only going to improve from what I can see already as a vast improvement. And, you know, we're working and tweaking it as we go along. And I have to admit, we all can use a little extra training here and there. And it was great to get the city perspective. And when we poached Scarlett from the city of Kingston, our apologies to the city, because it was definitely our game. But, you know, that's all part and parcel. We got the right person here helping us. So it's perfect, but exactly as you say it.
Thank you. Thanks, Christian. Okay, there's another report, this, the 2024 Kingston Police Service Board meeting schedule. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts on that? We proceed as is. Okay, then may I get a motion for that to accept the dates? Christian, Jimmy, all in favor? Thank you. Next will be the ratification motion. The Kingston Police Services Board ratify the motion passed by a poll of quorum of board members on November 30th, 2023, pending the next scheduled public board meeting, that the board appoint Dustin Filion, Julia Sicarella, Dalton Huron, and Joseph Harry as officers of the Kingston Police effective December 1st, 2023. First or seconder? Thank you. All in favor? Please do.
And just one comment for the board. So they're aware, the Ontario Police College used to hold 3 cohorts per year. Now they're holding 4, averaging around 500 to 550 per class. So that we're seeing a tighter time frame in getting our people from the recruiting phase to the hiring phase. So we're adapting to those challenges to try and meet the needs. But what will happen now, a recruit who's hired, so for example, the individuals named here today, they're in our station now doing online with the Ontario Police College for 3 weeks, and then they'll attend for 10 weeks. And that's going to happen 4 times a year now. So all the police services, we're fighting for the same people, but then we're fighting to get seats, and then we're fighting to get everything to the board in a timely fashion as well. So we'll continue. We're revamping that as we move forward.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any new business that would like to be brought? Nope. Okay. Then I'll ask to move in camera. May I have a motion to do that? Very good. Gail, Jimmy, all in favor? Thank you. Let's have 10 minutes.